I'd like to give all glory and praise and honor unto the Most High. We're going to get into it today, man. Now, today what we're going to be talking about is why does Israel always need aid, especially from the United States. And I understand, yes, that we're allies, the United States and Israel is allies. But when you look at the biblical scriptures and you look at the type of, people that they were and the groundwork that they put in for themselves, it's not lining up with the people that's in that land. Now that goes to show you that's further evidence that they're not the people of the book, the people of the scriptures. And for example, when you look at the Balfour Declaration, before they got put into that land in 1948, who had control of that land? It was the British. And when the Balfour Declaration got signed, they were the ones that put in that groundwork and got the Palestinians out for them to go and establish that land. It wasn't Israel putting in that work themselves, man. It wasn't. It wasn't them. When you look at the scriptures, they always put in the groundwork to get the land. Their own land. When Joshua was going into Jericho, they was putting in that groundwork themselves. Even when they were leaving Egypt, and they was getting attacked behind by them Amalekites, when they were defensive, they still had to fight, and they overcame them. When they were going into new lands, they put in the groundwork themselves. They wasn't asking for no help, man. But you can see, these people are always asking for help because of that little strip of land that they have right there. If they didn't have the support of the British, the United States, those areas will run through them. But these are supposed to be the people of the book, and they're supposed to be able to sustain themselves, and they can't do that there in that land, and that's a clear indicator. And then to top it off again, the scripture says when the people is back in that land, there's going to be peace, and it hasn't been peace ever since. And it's never going to be. So right now, what we're going to do, we're going to get into some scriptures, and we're going to show you examples, an example of that. Oh man. All right, I'm going to summarize a little bit before I start reading. We're in the book of the Maccabees, and we know that Judas Maccabeus, who was a warrior, who was a general, man. The scripture says he grieved his enemies, man. They knew who he was. He was well known, and he had alliance with the Romans, But as we know, he passed away. And when people pass away and leadership change, policies change, contracts change, and, things fall out of place, And that's really what happened. And Jonathan, which is Judas Maccabeus' brothers, he took over. And what he's trying to do right now, what he's going to read right now, is he's trying to establish, relationship with the Romans and the Spartans again. Yes, the same Spartans from that movie 300. This is what he's talking about. The Laodiceans, So this is what we're going to be getting into today, And we're going to be reading. You're going to listen to the dialogue of Jonathan, when it comes up, about how he views this alliance with them, So let's keep going. First Maccabees 12. Now when Jonathan saw that the time was favorable for him, he chose men and sent them to Rome to confirm and renew the friendship with them. He also sent letters to the same effect to the Spartans and to other places. So they went to Rome and entered the Senate chamber and said, "The high priest Jonathan and the Jews have sent to us to renew the former friendship and alliance with them." And the Romans gave them letters to the people in every place, asking them to provide for the envoys safe conduct to the land of Judah. So the envoys is pretty much the messengers. Just asking to provide, safe conduct for the messages to the lands of Judah. Let's keep going. All right, verse 5. This is a copy of the letter that Jonathan wrote to the Spartans, the high priest Jonathan, the council of the nation, the priests, and the rest of the Jews to their brothers, the Spartans. Greetings. And already in time past, a letter was sent to the high priest Onias from Arias, who was king among you, stating that you are our brothers, as the appended copy shows. Onias welcomed the envoy with honor and received the letter, which contained a clear declaration of alliance and friendship. So, he He received it back then. All right, so right here, listen to what Jonathan is saying to them, man. He's writing this to the Romans and the Spartans, you know. You see, he wrote them the same thing. He said right here, Jonathan says right here, therefore, though we have no need of these things, since we have as encouragement the holy books in our hands. So Jonathan is telling them, look, we don't really need, no alliance with you guys. Why? Because we have the holy books in our hands. They knew where their power was coming from. It was the Most High. Like the scripture says, cursed be he that put his trust in man. They wasn't putting their trust in the, and solely just on, these other nations helping them. He said, look, he's telling them, these are mighty men. Rome is mighty. The Spartans is mighty. He's telling them right here, therefore we have no need of these things, since we have as the encouragement the holy books that are in our hand. Look, we got the Most High. We got the scriptures, man. We don't really need your friendship. Let's keep going. We have undertaken to send to renew our family ties and friendship with you, so that we may not become estranged from you. For considerable time has passed since you sent your letters to us. We therefore remember you constantly on every occasion, both at our festivals and on the other appropriate days, and at the sacrifice that we offer in our prayers. It is right and proper to remember brothers, and we rejoice in your glory. But as for ourselves, many trials and many wars have encircled us. They involved in many battles right now. The kings around us have waged war against us. You heard that? Let's read that again one more time. But as for ourselves, many trials and many wars have encircled us. The kings around us have waged war against us. They in battle, man. They fighting. But listen to what he says right here. We were unwilling to trouble you and our other allies and friends with these wars, for we have help that comes from heaven for our aid. So we were delivered from our enemies, and our enemies were humble, man. He said he's not even going to trouble you guys, man, because they knew where their power was coming from. They were fighting many wars. Kings circled around them, waging war on them. He said, look, we are unwilling to trouble you and our other allies and friends with these wars. He wasn't putting no stress on them to fight these wars, So this is going to show you, look, these guys were mighty, man, because they stood on the Most High. These were the real wise men, They wasn't putting their trust in these other nations, man. He told you right there, look at verse 9. He said, look, we don't really need no friendship from you, but look, we willing to extend and be friends with you, but we don't really need you, Oh man, they was fighting manly battles, man. And he said, look, they're not sucking no aid from these other nations, man. They was holding their own. They was holding on the fort on their own. It wasn't necessary for these other nations to help them to win, But it's not like that when you look at that little strip of land right there. Like I said, these guys don't have support. They'll get ran through, And these guys are supposed to be the people of the book, and they're supposed to be established, right? But if they don't have that support from the United States or the British, they'll get ran through. That's a clear indicator right there. This is Jonathan right here, man. Mighty man of war, telling the Romans and the Spartans, look, we want to be friends with you, but look, we don't really need you. We don't want to bother. We already in battle, and these kings is, around surrounding us and waging war against us, but we're not even going to trouble you with that. Why? Because we got strength that comes from heaven. And our enemies were humble. They had their foot on their enemy's neck. Oh, man. They put in that groundwork themselves, man. They wasn't asking for help. Help me. Help me. They wasn't asking for no help. You heard what he said, man. These are mighty men of war, man. Samson, man. Slay 1,000 men. David, 10,000. Saul, man. These was mighty men of war, man. They wasn't sucking these other countries dry, for help, for constant help, man, and aid. Oh, man. So that's right there, man. It's a clear indicator, man. And I was just thinking about this, and this verse popped into my head, man. Oh, man. This is why through the scriptures, the Most High, he showed you time and time again, when they were in line with the Most High and they weren't going off, man, how he could, he could humble large multitudes with small numbers. Like he showed you that with Gideon. He told Gideon, look, cut that number down. You got too many men. We're just going to use 300. And they went to war and they won, Oh, man. An example, one of my favorite stories is in, I think it was the Book of Kings. I can't remember exactly. But it was the fight between the tribe of the Benjamins and it was the rest of the tribes. The tribe of Benjamin was a small tribe, only 26,000 strong. It was the smallest tribe. And they went up against 400,000 of their own tribe, of their own people, man. They were fighting Judah, they were fighting the rest of the tribes, and they were winning. They were beating them. That they had the rest of the tribes had to go back and call on the Most High, like, look, we need help, to defeat these guys. Because that small tribe, got reduced down to 600 men left. And, the first king of Israel came out of there, King Saul, who was a mighty man of war, man. It shows you, like, look, the type of warriors these guys were. They weren't really calling and needing nobody and depend on nobody for help like that. Oh, man. Because they knew where their power was coming. Like I said, when you look at these guys, if it's not for aid, and the backup of other people, they'll get ran through. Oh, man. Let's wrap it up. I don't want to make this one too long. Let's look at this scripture right quick. So right here, 1 Maccabees 3:19, for the victory of battle standeth not in the multitude of an host, but strength coming from heaven. This is Judas Maccabees when he was talking to his men. Like, damn, they was like, yo, we outnumbered. He's telling them, look, man, the victory of the battle standing, it's not about the multitude of a host, but strength coming from heaven. The Most High could use whatever number you want, small amount, to take down large amounts, man. It happened in scriptures, but these guys got to be in line with their power. When you going off and you depending on these other guys, hey, it's not going to work well for you. Let's show you an example of that in the scriptures. One more. I'm going to wrap it up. So right here, 2 Maccabees chapter 10, 29 through 31. So this is Judas Maccabees when they're at war. They fighting, and it's in the midst of battle. This is what the Most High did right here. When the battle became fierce, there appeared to the enemy from heaven 5 resplendent men on horses with golden bridles, and they were leading the Jews. 2 of them took Maccabeus between them and shielding him with their own armor and weapons. They kept him from being wounded. They showered arrows and thunderbolts on the enemy so that, confused and blinded, they were thrown into disorder and cut to pieces. 20,500 were slaughtered, besides 600 cavalry. You see that? So the Most High sent angels, man. Five angels, man, to help them while they were battling the war, man. Oh, man. So they knew where their power was, man. When it was time to put in that groundwork, they had to go into the lands. They wasn't relying on anybody, man. They didn't have to go ask no other nation to, hey, sign this declaration to help us go into that land. Because if the Most High deemed it, it would have, like, hey, I'm giving this to you. Go in there and take it over. That's what they would have done. There ain't no fighting and going back, all these years. The Most High deemed it, that is final. And that's what you see happen in the scriptures. Most High said, look, yeah, y'all go in there, take that, and it's over with, And they did it themselves. Nobody else. They ain't had to go sign no Balfour Declaration, ask permission for nothing, because the Most High was with them. And look, when the Most High is with you, hey, that's the best bet, And they won't begging for no help, man. Now, if they going off, that's a different story. Like I showed you there with Jonathan, what he wrote to the Romans and the Spartans. These are mighty men, a mighty nation of people. Tell them, look, we don't really need you. Oh, man. So hopefully this was edified, man. All praise to the Most High, man.